Hey, everybody, it's Drew Scooter from Sleep With Me Podcast, answering questions from listeners of Sleep With Me Podcast. If you have a question about the show, the best way to get your question answered is to send it in through the contact form on our website. You can post it in other places. I will try to answer it. But the best way to get your question answered, like this one, is from Dan. Dan's supported the show on Patreon and Sleep With Me Plus, moved from Patreon to Sleep With Me Plus, and always asks a lot of great questions. And this is another one that just hasn't been asked before in this particular way. So yeah, if you have a question, put it on the contact form on our website and I'll do my best to answer it. So basically Dan's question is like, what are any of my family members involved in the production of the show? Dan says, yeah, like your daughter. I know you talk about it a little bit on the show. So, yeah. So is anybody involved in the production of the show? Well, I'm trying to get my daughter to work on the show a little bit, just as a small job. So we'll see how that works out. My brother Ken worked on the show in the past doing artwork for episodes, but it's a really hard thing. But people are always, I talk about it a lot. Like this, trying to make stuff for a moving train is really difficult. So he has kids and a full-time job and stuff. So it's just like the idea of like 2 episodes coming out every week. It's a really hard thing for anybody. So it just was not like it was something where he just had a lot of other stuff going on. So, and it's good because our budgets kind of got pinched anyway. So, because we don't do any volunteer work with the podcast. In the early days, we kind of did, but it's not what's sustainable, right? Like the people that do work for the show need to be paid because a lot of people benefit from the podcast. So it just makes sense. And plus, like, it's easier to work with people that are paid. So my brother was the only person that's worked on the show in my family as a paid person. And I think my daughter will doing some video editing, or I've been teaching her and stuff. But again, it's like very hard to hit these deadlines that are always, you're hitting a deadline and then you're moving on to the next deadline. So it's, we're really lucky with the people that the show we work with, because it just takes a very type personality, self-motivated personalities. So everybody that works on the show is a deadline driven, self-motivated person that we've had the pleasure of working with. But there's other people. My family definitely has a lot of influence on the show. Yeah. My mom and my brother have been at, my family's been to live shows before, or on location tapings, and hoping in the future, either my daughter or maybe one of my siblings could, on location episodes, be like an area, like a producer, or an AP, because it's kind of hard to do the on location episodes in public places without as solo as I do them. My family members support the show. There are family members that listen, or a fair amount of people that use the podcast to fall asleep. So they support the show on Sleep With Me Plus, and the people that listen also buy stuff from the sponsors. So there's a lot of air doctors, helixes in my family's places, like my brother Dan, my dad. There's a lot of air doctors. My brother, like in Helix mattresses. What are some other popular sponsors of my family? My mom, she was big on the different bed heaters we've had sponsor the show, or bed coolers. She was more into the bed heating part. My daughter too. So yeah, they try out sponsors and support the show through that way too. And then yeah, they're like kind of an integral part of like the experience that formed where the podcast came from, right? And my ongoing life experiences, which inform the production of the podcast, or traveling, and then in the summertime, I like met up with my brother and my sister, but I also like took time to like do some balcony episodes. But it's also like if I'm doing something, my brain doesn't shut off because this is what I said earlier. So it's like I may be kind of soft location scouting for a future episode if we're doing something. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that answers that question. Let me just double check Dan's email. Yeah, visiting people, and then I'll record episodes. Yeah, my mom gave me a ride to the Orlando Eye. So, and then my brother went on the Orlando Eye with me when we did that episode. And actually, like that was when the podcast hit. That was when there was like my mom actually paid for where we slept. So, yeah. So anyway, I mean, it was a little mini vacation, one night vacation, me, my mom, and my brother. But yeah, so that's a little bit about the how my family's involved in podcasts. A little bit. I mean, they're very supportive, and I'm lucky. I'm very grateful. So thanks so much.